My guest for this episode is Matt East. Matt is one of the world's leading experts on productivity and high performance. He's also the person who convinced me to start a podcast. His books, podcast, and coaching teach how to plan your day so you can spend more time on the projects, activities, and relationships that are most important and meaningful to you. He's best known for his productivity coaching and mastermind, where he's been lucky enough to work with many incredible clients. Matt is one of those success stories that I love to talk about. He left his corporate gig as a vice president at MOBI Wireless Management 4 years ago and has been running his own business ever since. This is Invincible Career, and I'm Larry Cornett. Well, Mr. East, it is a real pleasure to talk with you today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Larry. I'm excited. We're going to talk about my stuff the whole time. I know I've got to dig in. I have questions for you about your before. It's like the interviewer in me. I don't have to take over the interview, but I want to get familiar with you and on some stuff that I have questions about. So you have the Invincible Career podcast going. Then you also have the Brave New World pod, or is that something totally different?
Brave New Workforce. That's another podcast. Yeah.
You do too?
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Okay. Awesome.
You do too. You have two podcasts.
Yes.
So you've got Better Humans podcast, and then you've got, what's the
Goal
other one
Achievement
called? It's the Goal Achievement.
Yeah, Goal Achievement. Yep. That's my baby. So that's the one I've had forever. And I'll be recording an episode for that. Actually, right after this, I'm going to record a little bit for that. But
wow.
So you've got that.
Brave soul.
You've got the two podcasts. Which one came out first?
Brave New Workforce. We started that. So I have two co-hosts, Trip Waddell and Anna Cadena. Trip's on the East Coast. Anna's in Costa Rica. So it's kind of amazing, this whole post-pandemic world where we're all working remotely and collaborating remotely. So we started that almost a little over a year ago.
Okay.
Right when the pandemic hit and quarantine, we let's talk about how this is changing the world.
Okay.
And it is, and it has.
Yeah.
So that came out, and then you had encouraged me. So I want to say thank you for encouraging me to do a podcast. We were talking on the Better Humans podcast back in 2019. Or as I say, pre-pandemic, and you encouraged me to do this. You were like, you really should do a podcast. It's like, it will change your business. It'll change your life. And it took me a while to kind of get it kicked up and started, and finally pulled the trigger on it last year. And so that's when the Invincible Career podcast started, and just recently started interviewing guests on the show. But thank you for saying that. I mean, I did.
Okay, so I've got to ask.
I was kind of nervous about it.
Has it helped? Is it something? What is it? Is it been good?
It's been good. Yeah. So I've had listeners reach out. I'm having more traction than I was before just with the newsletter. And I can see the metrics are increasing. So the downloads are increasing. Really nice uptick with the guest. Mm-hmm. So that makes a huge difference. People get tired of hearing me talk.
At least it gives you something to put in the newsletter too, right?
It does. Yeah, exactly. So every newsletter now, even I have a private and a public newsletter. So the private's for my coaching clients. Every single one has a podcast attached to it too.
Okay.
An episode.
Okay.
So it's like two a week. One's really short. It's just kind of the weekly challenge, which I know you do that too with your clients. And then this one, which is a little bit longer, kind of a 30-minute format.
Okay.
So yeah, it keeps me busy. I'm on the mic a lot.
I love it. And then, so you've got I saw you have a free Slack group that you offer too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been doing that for probably a little over 4 years.
Wow.
So the Slack community, I recently have been spinning up a Mighty Networks community too.
Okay.
Which is actually kind of interesting. I don't know if you've looked into that for your community.
Sure. I've been in a Mighty Networks.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I've been in one. I haven't been the main person, like the administrator or whatever.
Okay.
I've just been I've been a person that's in that's in someone else's Mighty Networks platform, I guess. So I've been in the platform as a end user, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, they're powerful. It's a little complex to set up. It took me a while. but it kind of brings everything together.
That's
It's
nice.
got the masterminds, it's got courses, it's got kind of a feed like Facebook. It's really cool. It's taken a little while to kind of migrate people and pull their fingers off Slack because everybody's used to Slack. But slowly but surely, we'll get more people over there.
Awesome.
I think it's a better
Very
platform.
cool. That's awesome.
So I want to talk a little bit more about what it means to be a productivity coach because you're a productivity expert and coach, and people hear that they're immediately curious. A lot of people had a lot of questions for you. So let's talk about what that is, what brings people to you, how do you work with them, how do you help them?
Okay. Yeah. So, I've been doing productivity coaching for, I don't know, almost 4 years now. So I've done some
Wow.
different
Yeah.
iterations of it. Okay. So when I started out, I
Okay.
was working directly with clients, pretty high end clients, one on one. And that's how I was approaching it in a very traditional. My go to market strategy was very traditional. It was very, very, very
Okay.
traditional. Um, kind of like higher end, exchanging my time for dollars, very much consulting
Got
feel.
it.
It's just like I needed to pay the bills. That's how I went about it. Um, I that for me wasn't like the perfect match because I really got into
Okay.
coaching to help people. Like I really wanted to help people
Mm-hmm.
at scale. And I was basically working with you know, like 8 really rich dudes essentially, and I was like, This is okay, I guess." I feel like I don't it's definitely not what I wanted to be doing. I was working, and nothing wrong with,
Mm-hmm.
like, I was working with a lot of founders and startup, like, kind of,
Got it.
successful. Indianapolis has a pretty thriving startup community. I was working with a lot of founders, and, and it was good. It was all good. It was like productivity coaching slash my background's all in like really strong like go to market type stuff, sales and marketing
Okay.
type stuff, and so they were paying me a lot. It ended up being a lot of consulting around that type of stuff. So that just left me kind of unfulfilled to a certain degree. I was like, I want to be impacting the world more. That's when I was like, I'm starting a freaking podcast because at least that's free. So I can at least share
Okay.
my
I was wondering how that
yeah, I was
started.
like, at
Okay.
least I can share
Yeah.
my ideas and like anyone in the world can hop in on and listen and it's free. And I'm like, okay, that could be one way to impact
Right.
people further. Well, after that, I realized I found Coach.me. Coach.me was digital coaching, and it was just it was a perfect timing for me when I found Coach.me because I just learned,
So that's where you met Tony.
yeah.
Okay.
So I just learned so much about scalability in the coaching profession, and
Hmm.
um, I learned a lot about habit building. And from a priority coach
Right.
perspective, I really need to be in touch with my to make a really lasting impact. I almost need daily touches with my clients
Sure.
because we're trying to build the
Yeah.
we're trying to build the habit of prioritization and having clarity and having
Right.
focus. So I did that for a long time. I kind of outgrew that because it was still one to one, and I was starting to get a lot of clients,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
when I made the latest transition that I've done over the last 6 months, and I've moved. Not all, but a lot of my clients are now in a Slack group. It's a paid Slack group. It's a group coaching slash
Got
mastermind,
it.
and it's amazing. And what that's done is, in my opinion, traditional coaching is broken in a lot of ways because a lot of people that need it can't
Hmm.
afford it. I mean, it's freaking expensive to
That's
hire a
true.
coach.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. Like, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
my wife and I make a great income, and I don't have a coach at all times because I'm like, I don't know if the value's there.
Yeah.
I've when I've written my book, I had a coach. Um, so I believe in coaching. So don't get me wrong with that. But it's just I have flipped my coaching off and on, and some of that's price sensitive. I'm just like, man,
Got it.
this is expensive. I'm like, And when you look at a lot of coaching, it's just like
Yeah, it can be.
outrageously expensive. So the coaching, the master, or moving stuff into Slack and into the mastermind, allowed me to bring the price point way down. So I'm able to offer the productivity coaching I'm offering now.
Hmm.
I'm in touch with my clients every day. It's $29.99 a month. It's absolutely the best coaching deal in the world. There's no way there's a better,
Yeah.
there's no
So it's
way.
less than $1 a
Yeah,
day.
there's
Yeah.
no way
Yeah.
there's a better coaching deal. I mean, it's a highly engaged community because we share our top 3 priorities each morning in one of the groups. So that drives traffic to
Right.
the
I've seen you doing that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's cool.
it drives traffic to the group. Um, so it's still habit based. It's the price point's way lower, and it harnesses the power of community. There's a lot to say for
Right.
the power of community and collective wisdom and shared motivation and just getting encouragement from a friend and the accountability provided by a community. I post my top 3 in there every day, and I get my stuff done because I don't want to look like a turkey to the community.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm gonna get this stuff
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
So that's my jam, man. It's been an absolute, um amazing like run, and I'm absolutely like thrilled with where my business is at right now, and it's largely because of the mastermind. Um and I just love it. I mean, it's coaching that freaking works, and it's affordable, and I
Yeah.
really have tried to, I mean, this sounds really bad to say. Like, I went aggressively low price. I'm like, I'm going to, that's not like, that's a very risky, from like a go to market perspective. That's a very risky way to go about business. But I was just like,
Mm.
coaching is too expensive. And what price point allows people to get in and start coaching and continue with it over time? Like, it's not going to like
Right.
drain their
Right.
finances. I don't know how somebody can hire me as a coach and not get a positive ROI. I mean, I literally don't know how. And for the
Yeah.
$30 a month coaching. I also coach people where I meet, and they're still in the mastermind, but I meet with them once a week. Say that coaching's $500. If I'm coaching a mom through that, I'm not going to probably provide an ROI. I can't do it. It's impossible,
Mm.
unless she's
Mhm.
building a business. So
Right.
that mom can afford that $30 a month, no problem usually, and it gives them an avenue to work with a great coach. And it's in my opinion, it's the most affordable, like, world class coaching you could buy. I mean, I know I'm like selling it aggressively here, and I'm not trying to. I'm just like, it's freaking amazing. Oh, and if people are interested, you can try that for free for 7 days. You can try it for free for 7 days. It's amazing. You just go to my website. It's just matt-east.com. So it's matt-east.com. You could, or just Google Matt and productivity. It'll pop right up.
Yeah, you come up a lot. That's true. So what people may not know, Matt had a previous life. So you used to be a vice president at MOBI Wireless Management, and you were there for almost 8 years. So it's not like you kinda were there just for a little bit. You were there for almost 8 years. What made you decide to break free from the corporate world and start your own business?
Oh, that's a great question. I had so much fun at Moby, by the way, too. Like, it was a startup. When I started there, I think there were like 4 people. When I left there were like 400. Um,
Wow.
so that was, seeing that growth was amazing. And yeah, so as far as leaving, I guess, I just wanted to, I, I had an amazing experience there. I worked my way up. I went in, I did not go in as a VP. I went in as like essentially someone working the phones. Like, we were trying to get revenue. We didn't have any customers. I was just like
Right.
cold calling like nonstop, like a machine, for like a year. And eventually, I worked my way up, and when I left, I was a VP. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. Saw tons of growth, and I just wanted to have a bigger impact in the world. I mean, that's pretty much it. Um, we were
Mhm.
building software and selling it to basically Fortune 500 clients. I was working with some amazing clients. I got to see kind of behind
Okay.
the kind of behind the walls of like Procter and Gamble, an amazing company, like seeing how they operate. And they were one of my first big
Hmm.
clients. Sold Procter and Gamble off of a cold call, which for a software company that's dying for revenue, and when you sell that deal, man, that is a game changer. That kind of gave us some lifeblood for a little bit. And it was
Yeah.
just an amazing experience, man. I just very thankful for it, but I wanted more. I just wanted more. I wanted more freedom.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wanted to be doing stuff on my watch a little bit. I've always been creative. I'm
Yeah.
entrepreneurial. I like the idea of um being in control. I learned a lot there about reoccurring revenue, and I wanted to go build some business models around reoccurring revenue, which is what I've done.
That's so cool. So you've been running your business, as you said, it was like it's been almost 4 years now with your own company, Matt East and Company. What would you say has made you successful?
Oh man, I mean, I don't even know if I am successful. I just like thug my way through, but I mean, I don't, I guess, I mean, okay, I guess more than anything, it's exactly what I coach on. It's, hey, let's set some annual goals. Let's set some weekly targets. Let's set some daily priorities and get after it and execute. And let's move through this with like a
Sure.
clear vision, and let's be willing to iterate and make adjustments along the way, but let's try to tackle this thing with a bit of a plan, and at the same time let's not be scared to make some mistakes along the way. um you know I just did, it's so funny you asked that. Talk about like not success, but failure. I just did a 20-minute podcast this morning, or I'm doing some stuff on Patreon now. Do you know about Patreon?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Patreon.
so I
Yeah.
just started
Yeah.
Patreon. I recorded my third recording for paid only. I needed to do that because my podcast is very supportive. My mastermind is a very supportive community. I wanted a place where I could challenge people more, and they weren't like, "Man, he's a mean guy." So, um, so on the page, I just warned people. I'm like, I'm tearing you. I'm gonna cuss. Like it's going down today. So I'm just like on fire in there, just like dropping f bombs. I'm like, on my podcast, if I even like whisper like the S word, I'm like, there's so
Yeah.
many moms with kids listening to it. Like I know that I'm always like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm like, if they're listening to like their in-home speakers or something, and I'm like saying bad words, I feel
Right.
so bad. So I'm so like tentative on the podcast. And in my coaching community, I'm so supportive because
Right.
from a coach, like how much to press, and how,
Hmm.
and I almost
Yeah.
usually, lean towards, being more supportive and encouraging than I do
Sure.
like really challenging most people. Um, but on this, man, I'm just like ripping into people. So as I was saying, I just did a podcast on, I'm like, my my success rate and my income rate has skyrocketed since I got really familiar, when I got really comfortable with rejection. So, um,
Okay.
so if you think about it, like currently right now, my website gets about 50 hits just naturally from Google that I don't have to pay for a day, 50 hits a day. And then I pay for about 50 more that I drive. I try to pay for some very specific traffic to come. I get about five or six convert into email. They convert in on my email list, and then one turns
Okay.
into a paid customer. One out of 100 turns into a paid customer. That's 1%. Very standard. That's not great, and it's not terrible. It's about what it should be at the price points that I'm selling stuff.
Right.
Okay. So that means 94 people are rejecting me every single day. They're rejecting me. They're looking at it, and a lot of times they jump right off. Like they just like literally see a picture of me and like, no way. Like I'm not messing with that dude. Or they, for whatever reason, they land and they're like, they get out of there. Right. So I'm dealing with rejection there. And a lot of people would think like, well, I got to increase my conversion rates. And I try to do that. I spend time literally almost every day. I make a tweak to my site trying to go from a 1% conversion to
Sure.
a 1.5. That would be a massive difference. So I get all that. But what I really need 1,000 people there, 940 being like, this guy's nuts and getting out of there and still converting 60 people.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
actually
Yeah.
what I need to
Yeah.
do. Like that's the answer. It's not finding more people to love you. It's with 7 billion people in the world, if 6.9 billion can reject me, I would be so freaking rich. If I could get 6.9 to
That's true.
reject me, I'm rich. I'm good. Like I'd be literally like
Yeah.
I'd have no money would just be falling out of my pants. I mean, I'd be the richest dude ever. If I could get to 6.9 billion people rejecting me, I'm golden. So it's just like little stuff like that. It's like, I don't know what I've done that well. I do know I need more. I need to do worse. I need more rejection. I need more like
I love it.
failure. I need
Yeah.
I need more problems. Like I need, I learned that Grant Cardone told me that. He's like, dude, you need problems, you need challenges. Like somebody that just wakes up and
Right.
turns on the TV and watches TV, they don't face any rejection all day long. That doesn't mean it was a good day. It doesn't at all.
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
these companies that are doing incredible revenue, they're facing incredible amounts of rejection, and it's not coming that easy. It's
Oh yeah.
it's it's
Absolutely.
just amazing. Scale is amazing to me, Larry, because there's just so many more people than we realize. Like it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been looking at the creator economy and the passion economy, so it's interesting you mentioned Patreon and this whole concept of finding kind of your niche audience. And sometimes people are afraid to do that. They're like, "Oh, I don't want it to be too small." But we have an entire world like you're saying. There's billions of people now that can see what you're offering. So you don't have to appeal to a broad base.
Yeah.
When you're looking at
Hmm.
billions of people, you can focus on a tiny niche that loves kind of what you have to offer. They need exactly what you have to offer. And that can still be incredibly profitable and you
Hmm.
can be very successful.
Hmm. It took me, I think you and I talked about this on the first time we met doing the Better Humans podcast. You know, it took a lot of not guts, but like courage for me to like draw a line in the sand and just say, I'm going to be a productivity coach. I want to try to own. If
Sure.
you
Yeah.
Google productivity coach or productivity coaching, that's the space I wanted to own. And I'm not there. I actually was ranked really high in Google for a while, and it's dropped off a little bit, but it's you know, that's hard to do as a business owner, to be like, okay, there's 200 people
Oh,
a
yeah.
day searching for productivity coach. I want to own that. It's a lot easier to say like I want to be a life coach, and because there's 8,000 of those searches,
Right.
but
Right.
everyone thinks they're a
Yeah.
life coach. So it's I don't know. It's just I like the idea of niching down. I love the idea of just like doing the math behind reoccurring revenue. You talked about kind of the creator economy. It's just that,
Right.
the math adds up so much faster than we think. I just did an episode on the math or the path to get to a 100K a month income, and some of the math
Hmm.
on that is just fascinating. I think it was what like blew my mind is if you can get 400 customers paying you $250 a month, that's 100K. I mean, that is doable.
Wow.
Like that is
Yeah.
so doable.
Yeah.
I sell a product for $30. If I get 5,000 of those, that's 150K a month. I mean, the numbers are just like
Wow.
so when you start
Yeah.
playing with like recurring revenue math, I just love that. It's one reason I love that lower price point for my coaching. Some of it's selfish. It's because it makes people buy so much quicker, and it allows them to
Sure.
buy, because
Yeah.
if that coaching is $360 or whatever that math works out to, I don't even know what it is, 380 or something, 382. The that nobody wants to pay 380 up front to like get into a mastermind they're unsure about, blah 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 blah. Like that can be a lot of money for some
Yeah.
people. For I mean, I coach a lot of like med school
Mm-hmm.
students, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
students. Like they don't have $400 thrown around, but can they do $30 a month? Like, yeah, they can do $30 a month. So it makes that price point way more
Right. Right.
feasible. It makes my income and um my income so much more predictable and basically never go down unless you're losing more customers than you're
Exactly.
gaining. I love that recurring revenue that I mean there's a reason why like Netflix and all these companies are functioning off of recurring revenue. It's not because they're dumb,
Yeah.
man. It's
Yeah.
smart.
Absolutely. So I want to pivot really quickly and talk about your book. So you recently published a book. It's called The Purposeful Planning Method: How to Plan Your Day, Beat Procrastination, and Regain Control of Your Time. And for everybody listening, you can go find it on Amazon, look for Matt East and for the Purposeful Planning Method. And in your book, you talk about how important it is to plan your days using kind of these two different layers. So it's the fluid layer and the habit layer. And I was wondering if you could explain those concepts a little bit and how someone applies that to their daily schedule.
Yeah. I'd love to. Hey, by the way, people can get my book for free. Just go to my website and then in the back put VIP and it's just free, 100% free. And the same audio that's on Audible is there, the same book that's on I don't know, all these digital platforms. It's free. Just go get it. It's awesome. And it's like an hour and 10 minutes to read
Yeah.
or listen to.
Well, that's great, Matt. Thanks.
Yeah. But the habit layer, fluid layer. So I just kind of thought through, I did a lot of studying as I was working on this book. And as I was just like, not just for the book, but prior to that, I'm like, how can my day be the most effective possible? How can I just wanted to like live a great life. I wanted to just like enjoy my life, but also be like super productive, get cool stuff done. I wanted to like exercise every day. I
Right.
wanted to like spend time with my wife every day. I wanted to like golf occasionally. I wanted to run like every day. I
Yeah.
wanted to go to the sauna every day. I wanted to like work on cool projects every day with fun people and work with, interesting clients. And I'm like, how do I do all this? So I
Hmm.
started to study stuff and I just started to see a kind of a reoccurring theme of how these like high performers were functioning. And it wasn't by accident. They weren't meandering through their day, is what I
Yeah.
started to figure out. And I realized, first of all, almost all high performers have clarity heading into the day. They know what they want to work on. It's not like by mistake. They're moving through their day with
Hmm.
intentionality. They're intentional about their energy. They're not reacting to stuff that comes up all day long. They're intentionally moving through their day and focusing on what they want to focus on. And that's where I thought, okay, we're going to term that the fluid layer because it kind of changes every day. It's like what I do during my work day. So kind of from like that 9 a.m. to 5, 6 p.m. What am I doing there? That actually changes every day for me. So like today, this is one of my fluid layer activities. It's I
Mm.
had to block this. I had to say, okay, I'm going to hop on with Larry. We're going to chat and knock that thing out. So your
Yeah.
priorities for the day are your fluid layer activities. That's your fluid layer. It's the stuff you're focusing on. It kind of changes throughout the day because one day you might, for you, one day you might record a podcast. One day you might have to share that podcast socially or on your email list. One day you might have a lot of client calls or client
Right.
interactions. It just changes. Stuff
Yeah.
changes in that fluid layer. And then what else I saw was a lot of these most successful people, man, they have incredible habits in the morning and at evening.
Hmm.
So, you just start to study these people and you realize, man, these some of these high performers, they're just getting up, they're heading to the gym. And it's not by like mistake. It's like they've done it for like 10 straight
Right.
years. They've got up, they've had coffee, then they've headed to the gym. I mean, you think about that. They've basically worked out for 10 years straight just by acting almost like a robot,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's your habit layer. Your morning routine, that's habit layer. Then the middle of your day, fluid layer. Then that evening is habit layer. So for me, I like to spend a lot of time with my wife, relax, hang out with my pups, like get away from work, go on a walk or something with Rachel. And And that's my
Right.
evening habit. Like, I cook, so I do all the cooking in our house. So I cook. All that's blocked off on my schedule. My habit layer is basically the same every single day. It's virtually the same. Just basically wake up, literally let the dogs out, grab a coffee. And pre-COVID, it was, you head to the gym. It's changed a little bit since then. I try to do my workout at
Right.
home. Um, I can't wait to get back to the gym, by the way. But the
Yeah.
yeah, so that's it. The habit layer is just kind of your morning routine, your evening routine, fluid layers in between there. And if you want to learn way more about that, that was a bad description, but if you want to learn way more about that, the book's easy to listen to. It's easy to follow along. There's a lot of examples in the book too that are good to reference. So
So I have a few questions for my community. So there's some folks that I probably have way more questions than we could answer, but one was the issue of procrastination, which I think everybody gets hit with sooner or later, maybe
mhm.
every day. How do you overcome procrastination so that you can actually focus on the tasks that are important? Because it seems this person was saying the more I worry about it, the more I procrastinate. And how do you overcome that hurdle?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And something that I've noticed, there's two elements to this. Most of the time with procrastination, this isn't like me saying this. This is based on like data, like psychologist and what science is saying about procrastination. And most people know this in their heart too. It's not a time management issue. It's not a time management issue. Usually we have the time to do the task. So it's usually more of it's almost weird
Mm,
saying this, but it's more of like an emotional issue. It's like maybe you're worried about how you're going to be judged or something, like
sure.
that's why it's taking you a long time to record a podcast or to write an article or to respond to an email.
Hmm.
So there's just a little more complexity around procrastination than a lot of people I think. um, so it can much more be yeah, kind of more of an emotional issue than it is a time management issue.
Sure.
And once you know that, you can start to work through that. I will say this from a procrastination standpoint, you exercise a lot. I've seen your videos. You're like a beast. Um, you'll know this as well as anybody. If you've procrastinated before you go work out, if you've ever like you work out a ton, I'm 99% sure you've procrastinated. I know I do. I
Hmm.
procrastinate all the time. I did a run before our podcast. I procrastinated.
Sure.
And and even that I've ran like thousands of times, and I know that after I start running, 5 or 6 minutes into my run, every single time, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I almost didn't run. This is the greatest part of my day by far. Like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
unbelievable. Am I insane for thinking like I wasn't going to run today? Well, the motivation to
Yeah.
run came after you started running. Like, it's insane. Like, it's backwards. It's
Yeah.
so backwards. The thing is, does that resonate with you? Like, that feeling?
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Every time I'm like, I just got to start lifting. Then I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
No, this
I
is
enjoy
glorious.
this.
Yeah. You turn music on and the exercise is interesting
Yeah.
because you have some benefits, like there's stuff going on in your body with like proteins and stuff that you're like you're feeling good and juiced up.
Yeah.
But the same damn thing is true for work. Like when you're dragging your feet on like how many times you drag your
Right.
feet, then once you pop into something, you're like, oh, like it's not that bad at all. Like it's borderline
Yeah.
enjoyable to work on this. Like, oh, I just procrastinated 2 weeks on writing this, and I got in here for 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun writing this. The ideas are just pouring in. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's literally like insane. So at some point, you just have to start trusting yourself. Like, at some point, you have to say,
Yeah.
I'm a freaking idiot, and I know that I'm gonna procrastinate forever unless I just start, and then I'm a machine, and I'm just gonna like stuff will just take care of itself, and you just kind of
Right.
trust yourself. If you can trust yourself to just get moving, 99% of the time, maybe that's the golden ticket is just getting started. And even some of those emotional concerns that you had around oh, are people going to like this? Um, what are some of those other emotional concerns? I usually have a bunch of examples. Um, just any type of worry, any type of,
There's,
oh, I know what it
yeah,
is. A
there's
big one.
definitely a lot of fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And a big one is lack of clarity. So you just don't know. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to start a podcast.
sure.
What the hell's the first step? Like that, like once you know that, it actually helps a
Yeah.
lot, like a lot. So,
Yeah.
that's the big thing. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of times procrastination is based in not having clarity. Like you kind of think you have clarity, but it's like, oh no, I want to
Sure.
start a
Yeah.
business. But it's like, okay, well, what's the very first step we need to do to like start moving towards that? So a lot of times I'd say procrastination it's grounded in these weird things like a lack of clarity. If you can get clear, procrastination goes away. A
Yeah.
lot of that, if you can get past that fear and anxiety, it's going to go away 100%. And then the last thing is just like I said, just begin stuff, take action, and trust yourself,
Yeah.
that trust that motivation is going to follow. It's so easy with working out because once you're an established athlete, or you're working out quite a bit, because you literally start to trust yourself. You just know, like, you're like, oh no, I'm
Right.
gonna feel great in like 10 minutes. I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be the high of my day. And occasionally that doesn't happen, but more often than not, if you get moving,
Yeah.
stuff starts to work itself out. And I'd say if you get started too, and on like a project, I've been trying to learn a Photoshop, and you know, sometimes it just goes a little slower than you think, and you just have to like, I started,
Hmm.
and I didn't necessarily feel super motivated to like learn Photoshop. I felt super motivated to switch my tool and learn a new tool though. I'm like, I got to figure out. So I still wanted to solve my
Yeah.
problem, but I was just like, oh man, Photoshop's insane. So
Yes.
but it didn't make me like. I didn't get to the point of being like, oh, there's other amazing tools out there, until I got in and started taking action, as opposed to just like daydreaming about being a Photoshop designer.
Right.
Like there's a big difference between saying you're going to do something and actually doing it.
So, Matt, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. And I know that many of my listeners are going to benefit from your productivity system. So, again, the best place for them to learn about your coaching practice is matt-east.com. Is that correct?
Yep. That's a great spot. Just go into Google, type productivity Matt, and I'll pop right up.
There you go. So, again, everybody, Matt's book is The Purposeful Planning Method: How to Plan Your Day, Beat Procrastination, and Regain Control of Your Time. And Matt gave you the URL to get a free copy. Very generous of you. Thank you. Or you can look on Amazon and you can buy it if you want and be supportive. That'd be fantastic too. Thanks again, Matt.
Oh, it was so much fun. I've listened to your other guests. They were so calm, and I was crazy. I feel kind of bad.
I like it. We need the high energy. You can't have everybody be calm. All right. Great catching up with you, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you would like to follow upcoming releases of the show, please subscribe. And as always, I appreciate your ratings and reviews. Thank you. If you would like to learn more about Invincible Career and the podcast, you can visit invinciblecareer.com. Until next time, I wish you the best of luck in becoming an opportunity magnet for the best things in life.